Of all the dangers found on our planet, natural disasters can be some of the most devastating. Earthquakes in particular are responsible for some of the most extensive destruction in history. While most are small, there are a select few that stand high above the rest. From Japan to Alaska, here are the 5 most powerful earthquakes in all history. Back on November 4th of 1952, a magnitude 9.0 earthquake occurred just off the eastern coast of Russia. Occurring at a depth of only 30 kilometers, it was a very shallow earthquake, which added an immense amount of power. However, the most destructive aspect was where the earthquake occurred, about 81 miles off the coast. Almost immediately, the earthquake triggered a series of tsunamis in the region, especially on the Kamchatka Peninsula. Here, a total of 3 tsunamis hit, ranging from 4 to 18 meters high. To make matters worse, each wave occurred with a lengthy period of time between them. So, residents who fled to higher ground to escape the first wave were caught off guard when the second hit after returning to their village. Ultimately, it was the third wave that was the largest and most destructive. Once all was said and done, between 10,000 and 15,000 people lost their lives. The strength of this earthquake stretched far beyond this area, though. Around 6 hours after the tsunami struck the Russian peninsula, Hawaii was hit with a tsunami of its own. Although it wasn't close to the size of the bigger ones, measuring only 4 feet high, it was large enough to damage some ships. A couple of hours later, the waves reached the coast of Chile at a height of 1.2 meters, but the damage was negligible. It was a devastating and unexpected event, and one that hopefully will never happen again. Of everything that happened in 2011, there is one event that stands out among the rest. This was the year that the most powerful earthquake in Japan's history occurred, and the devastation is almost hard to comprehend. Occurring only 43 miles off the east coast of the Oshika Peninsula, the earthquake produced a tsunami that claimed thousands of lives and caused billions of dollars in damage. It all began in the early morning hours on March 11th. Immediately after the earthquake hit, the entire island of Honshu shook violently. In fact, it was so intense that the geographical position of the island moved 8 feet to the east, and the Earth's axis was shifted between 4 and 10 inches. It only lasted for some 6 minutes, but in that time was able to generate a 42-foot-high tsunami that swept through the Japanese mainland, taking the lives of over 15,000 people. The wave also ended up severely damaging the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, causing a level 7 meltdown in 3 of the reactors. It was the worst nuclear disaster since Chernobyl, with roughly 160,000 people evacuating, only to never return. The damage left by this earthquake and tsunami is rather astounding. The Japanese government estimates that around 45,000 buildings were destroyed beyond repair, and another 144,000 were damaged, including important infrastructure such as hospitals. In total, the economic cost of this once-in-a-lifetime disaster is believed to be somewhere around $360 billion. In late 2004, an earthquake of unbelievable magnitude struck just off the west coast of northern Sumatra. Registering as a 9.1, the duration of this earthquake was the longest that has ever been recorded, lasting between 8 and 10 minutes. It had so much power that it caused the planet to vibrate as much as 0.4 inches and remotely triggered earthquakes as far away as Alaska. Due to it occurring off the coast, it caused a series of tsunami waves that ended up reaching a terrifying 100 feet in height. The suddenly receding tide, which is the first warning sign of an impending wave, mesmerized many people on the beach, which only added to the loss of life. Soon, a huge wave came crashing in, washing many of the once curious onlookers away, as well as buildings and cars. In the end, over 227,000 people in 14 countries died. It was one of the costliest and deadliest natural disasters in recorded history. Scientists were stunned that an earthquake that powerful could have such an effect on the Earth. It was a stark reminder that no matter how much we prepare and plan, we are always at the mercy of our own planet. Of all the earthquakes we've detected over the years, the second most powerful, known as the Great Alaskan Earthquake, occurred on March 27th of 1964. With a magnitude measured at 9.2, it shook south-central Alaska for a full 4 minutes and 38 seconds, causing massive amounts of damage and producing tsunamis. Analysis has determined that 600 miles of the fault line ruptured at the same time, releasing hundreds of years of built-up stress and moving up to 60 feet in the course of the 4 minutes and 38 seconds. Landslides occurred due to soil liquefaction. Huge cracks opened in the earth. Some areas near the island of Kodiak permanently rose by 30 feet. However, others around the city of Anchorage dropped as much as 8 feet. Underwater landslides collapsed the Valdez City harbor and docks, resulting in the deaths of 32 people. Tsunamis up to 27 feet washed away villages up and down the Alaskan coast. Despite all this, the death toll was luckily very low due to the sparsely populated area in which it happened. However, the effects were still felt all over the Earth, with tsunamis hitting Hawaii and Japan. Now, while this next earthquake doesn't make it into the top 5, we decided to feature it due to the extensive damage it caused. Back on January 17th of 1995, an earthquake with a magnitude of between 6.9 and 7 struck near the Japanese city of Kobe. Tremors were reported to have been felt for only 20 seconds, but this was more than enough time to cause significant damage. In the city of Kobe, an estimated 400,000 buildings, as well as numerous roadways and bridges, were damaged far beyond repair. To give you an idea, this picture was taken of the Kobe-Osaka highway soon after the quake. In the end, an estimated 6,500 people tragically lost their lives that day, making the Great Hanshin earthquake Japan's second deadliest in the 20th century. The total cost associated with this disaster is estimated far north of $200 billion. The most powerful earthquake to ever be measured occurred in Chile in 1960. This type of earthquake, known as a megathrust earthquake, occurred at an area of a fault where one tectonic plate was forced underneath another. Because of this, one plate is thrust upward very violently. The epicenter of this quake was located about 350 miles south of the capital city of Santiago. Luckily, this area was very sparsely populated. However, there was an incredible amount of damage that extended far past the country of Chile. Within the country's borders, there were actually a series of earthquakes that occurred between May 21st and June 6th. The first quake was a magnitude 8.1 and knocked out telecommunications to southern Chile. That spelled disaster for the residents, as the subsequent earthquakes, including the Valdivia earthquake, did the majority of the damage. At Corral, the main port of Valdivia, the water level rose 13 feet before it began to recede. Minutes later, a 26-foot wave struck one area of the Chilean coast. Soon after, a second wave measuring 33 feet high struck. Hundreds of people were already reported dead before the tsunami hit. Other tsunamis traveled across the Pacific Ocean, striking Hawaii and killing 61 people. China, Japan, New Zealand, Australia, and the Philippines also reported tsunamis. One other significant effect from the earthquake happened 2 days later. Volcanic vents close to the Puyehue volcano erupted, spewing ash into the air. It was determined to be a direct result of the earthquake, as the magma chambers shook so hard they became unstable. Overall, Chile suffered 5,700 deaths and today's equivalent to nearly $18 billion in damages. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to click the link on screen to check out more just like it. As always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.